Thank you for joining us for this special edition of Learn and Invest with Gabriel B. Ajak.
In the early 90s, official guidance demonized dietary fats, pushing them to the tip of the graphic and instructing Americans to build their diets on a foundation of carbohydrates. Decades of these dietary models have failed to curb the growth of chronic illness. Gabriel B. Ajak's analysis identifies system design, rather than personal choice, as the core driver of America's food crisis. This comparison shows the 1992 Food Guide Pyramid alongside its successor, the 2005 My Pyramid. In his Beyond the Label case study, Ajak argues that the nutrition facts panel is insufficient. It conceals the true scope of consumer exposure, leaving the most vulnerable populations with limited visibility into the risks they face. To audit these risks, we use the food system exposure chain. We track formulation, processing, geography, and packaging. Assessing risk requires looking beyond the ingredient list to evaluate how food is chemically altered, where it is sold, and what it touches before consumption. We will build this model from the ground up to understand how the system extracts value from public health. System design, rather than personal choice, sits at the center of America's food crisis. Look at the balance sheet. Diet-related chronic diseases are now costing the United States $4.1 trillion in annual healthcare spending. That is a massive extraction of biological and financial capital happening in plain sight. This chart is the 1992 USDA Food Pyramid. By demonizing dietary fats at the narrow top and elevating carbohydrates to the base, official guidance directed consumers toward an industrial solution. The food industry responded by replacing fat with highly processed, sugar-laden carbohydrates to maintain taste. The attempt to treat human nutrition as a simple math equation of isolated macronutrients failed. The relevant variable is what the food industry does to the food before it reaches your plate. Let's be clear about willpower. Blaming a $4.1 trillion healthcare liability on individual laziness ignores the math. This obesity epidemic is the result of flawless industrial market design. This shift in focus moves our investigation past the macronutrient labels and directly into the physical transformation of the food itself. Notice how the whole food is being aggressively crushed and separated. Applying the MIT Sloan lens to these incentives makes the outcome obvious. If the market rewards hyperpalatability, chemical shelf stability, and maximum profit margins, the market will engineer products that deliver exactly those traits. We are going to dissect this market failure through 4 linked channels: the formulation of the food, the processing it undergoes, the retail geography where it's sold, and the packaging materials it touches. Navigating this requires consumers and investors to understand the massive informational gaps regarding processing heat, retail geography, and packaging chemistry that standard FDA nutritional labeling ignores. The first channel is formulation. We use the NOVA classification system here to identify ultra-processed foods, or UPFs. These are industrial formulations optimized for extended shelf life, not human nutrition. The data on this is absolute. In 2024, the BMJ published a massive umbrella review, 10 million participants across 45 meta-analyses, and most importantly, they explicitly excluded any study with industry funding. This chart illustrates the BMJ's most alarming data point. Higher exposure to ultra-processed foods correlates with a 50% increased risk of cardiovascular disease mortality compared to the baseline. The researchers found another massive spike on that same chart. High UPF consumption is tied to a 21% increased risk of all-cause mortality. The biological mechanism behind these numbers comes down to the gut microbiome. UPFs actively alter the composition of the bacteria in your digestive system. Industrial emulsifiers and artificial colorants trigger systemic inflammation pathways. Your body treats these engineered ingredients as foreign threats. The industrial additives and engineered matrices within these formulations trigger the precise systemic inflammation that degrades long-term biological wealth. We now turn to the second channel, processing. This examines the physical manufacturing methods used to create these products. There is a massive regulatory blind spot at the FDA. Standard consumer labels only require listing the starting ingredients. They completely hide the new chemicals forged during the manufacturing process itself. Look at these massive automated vats. When grain-based foods and potatoes are baked, roasted, or fried at high temperatures in facilities like this, a chemical contaminant called acrylamide is formed. The International Agency for Research on Cancer officially classifies acrylamide as a probable human carcinogen. Processed meats carry an even heavier processing burden. The industrial smoking, the curing process, and the addition of nitrites create an entirely different risk profile than fresh meat. The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen. That places it in the exact same cancer-causing category as tobacco and asbestos. Label transparency is a dangerous illusion if it fails to warn consumers about Group 1 carcinogens embedded in everyday industrial products.
The third channel is geography. Individual choice is an illusion when the built environment dictates the available options. This image of a corner store highlights the critical difference between a food desert and a food swamp. A desert lacks supermarkets. A swamp is an aggressive saturation of harmful fast food and convenience stores, heavily barred and pushing processed inventory. Public health researchers have proven that a neighborhood's food swamp score is a significantly stronger predictor of obesity than a simple lack of fresh food. Saturation drives behavior. Look at this photograph of post-World War II suburban housing. Modern retail geography is rooted in historical housing policies. White flight and redlining paved the way for commercial supermarket abandonment in urban centers. The collateral damage today is clear in the data. 13.7% of U.S. households, or 18.3 million families, are food insecure. This burden falls disproportionately on Black, non-Hispanic families. The CDC reports that 30.1% of American children consume fast food on any given day, accounting for over 11% of their total daily caloric intake. This fast food saturation in low-income neighborhoods is not an accident of geography. It is a meticulously engineered economic trap, specifically targeting populations with the least ability to opt out. Our final channel is packaging. We must examine chemical migration from industrial food contact materials into the supply chain. In 2024, the NIH summarized findings showing that a single liter of tested bottled water contained an average of 240,000 detectable plastic fragments. As this microscopic visualization shows, nanoplastics pose a unique threat compared to microplastics. Their minuscule size allow them to penetrate cellular walls and cross biological barriers, directly entering the interior of human cells. And this directly ties back to fast food. Studies published in Environmental Health Perspectives link high fast food consumption to significantly elevated levels of phthalates in the human body. Phthalates, along with BPA, are classified as endocrine disruptors. They interfere with natural hormone signaling, which creates severe concerns for reproductive health and childhood development. The regulatory gap here is striking. The FDA maintains safety frameworks for PFAS and food contact substances, yet there is zero consumer-facing disclosure required on the physical packaging. The industrial supply chain effectively forces consumers to absorb an invisible chemical burden as the hidden cost of packaged convenience. Addressing these failures requires the Hoover Institution's model of market discipline reform, leveraging transparency and evidence-based governance to correct industrial externalities. The first necessary reform involves Congress directing the FDA to extend label transparency. Products must carry NOVA-equivalent processing classifications and prominently disclose process-formed contaminants. Second, we need phased reform of the SNAP program. We must remove purchasing power for Group 1 carcinogens like processed meats and redirect those billions toward fresh produce. Third, local governments must be empowered to attack food swamps directly. Implementing fast food density caps and deploying targeted zoning laws can physically protect public health at the neighborhood level. We cannot solve a systemic trillion-dollar industrial externality with mere nutrition education. We must alter the corporate incentives that currently reward the poisoning of the American public.
This outcome reflects predictable market incentives. When manufacturers removed fat, they maintained palatability by adding sugar and refined grains. The food industry optimized for shelf life and repeatable consumer behavior, creating a system that prioritizes corporate margins over metabolic health. Standard education campaigns fail because they focus on demand-side behavior while ignoring the industrial system's supply-side failures. We cannot solve an industrial crisis with a simple educational icon.
The information discussed in this podcast is strictly for educational purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. Learn and Invest is a listener and reader-supported podcast.
To receive new episodes and support our work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber. Have feedback? Email gabriel.ajak@hotmail.com with this series title in the subject line. Looking at the questions on this screen, we want to hear from you. Number 1. What is one specific exposure channel you can control today to improve your biological resilience? Number 2. How does your work schedule force you into relying on industrial food, and how can you disrupt it? And question 3. How can entrepreneurs and investors reshape the retail geography of underserved neighborhoods to prioritize public health or pure margin? True wealth requires sovereign control over both your financial portfolio and your biological assets. What food industry topics should we investigate next? How will you use this matrix to audit your own pantry? And how can your community push back against food swamps? As always, learn and invest.
I stay grinding, I stay prepared. Life got a price tag, I'm already paid it there.